Hi folks, and welcome to another episode of Careers in Coffee. So today I'm absolutely delighted to be welcoming Sasha Bainbridge. She's the Regional Partnerships Director for Lovell. So let's bring on Sasha.
Hello.
Afternoon, how you doing?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. It's certainly brightening up here in Suffolk. That's what we like to see.
Yeah,
Now,
I think the rain has moved across now.
that's all right. So Sasha, tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do. I know sort of the theme of this talk is around sort of no mess construction. I feel like those two things often don't coincide. So tell us a little bit about who you are, what we do, and then we can talk a little bit more around no mess construction as well. Does that sound like a plan?
Okay, that's absolutely fine. I am
Sure.
Regional Partnerships Director for the East Anglia region of Lovell. Lovell is the house building division of the Morgan Sindall Group. Morgan Sindall Group obviously includes Morgan Sindall Construction, Infrastructure. There's also fit out companies like Overbury and Morgan Lovell. But we're the house building division. And in terms of my role, it's about bringing in new business. So I speak to local authorities, to housing associations, build those relationships, learn where the next projects are going to be coming up. And I also interact a lot in terms of our social value legacy. So I speak a lot to schools, to colleges, thinking about how we can leave a legacy in the places in which we work.
Yeah, that sounds fantastic. And
It is.
how did you actually get into the sector in the first place?
Right. Well, I came out of university and I had no discernible practical skills whatsoever. So back in those days, you could go and join a temping agency and just get some work experience, which is what I signed on to do, and said that I wanted to work in an office. I had no idea why. And the office that I got sent to was in an electrical engineering company called ABB. And I was helping them to put their bids together. When companies want to win new work, they have to put together a bid or a tender for it. And these are incredibly complicated documents. There's a lot of writing, there's a lot of document design that goes into them. And so I started working with ABB doing that. Xerox, the printer people, took over the print room and I started doing more printing and less bid writing, which is what I really enjoyed. So I went on the lookout for a different company that might possibly do bid writing and kind of fell into a job at ISG in London. So I got to work in the city for a few years, which was really enjoyable. And then I've kind of moved between different construction companies, sort of progressing in my career as I went through the bid side. So that way of bringing in new business was where I started, really.
Wow, that sounds fantastic. And tell us a little bit around sort of no mess construction as well. Yeah, quite keen to learn more about that.
Well, I suppose no mess construction, when people think about construction, they tend to think about the trades. And although that is a massive part of it, that is hugely the most big part of what we do, because you have actually got to deliver these projects. There are so many other roles that are connected in construction. I mean, aside from our operations team, we have our surveyors, we have our procurement departments, we have our technical, our design, our development, our house sales, we have marketing. We have our customer care teams. We obviously have our admin support. And there are all of these roles that allow you to be in the construction industry that aren't necessarily what people think of when they think about working in construction.
Wow, that's great. Thank you. And I mean, day to day, what are some of the skills that you use as well?
Communication. You've got to be able to communicate clearly. You've got to be able to speak to people who you might need to input into a bid and get them to help you out, even though they have their own job and are incredibly busy. You've got to be able to multitask. You've got to be extremely organized, and you've got to be able to switch between changing priorities very, very quickly.
Yeah. And for a young person who might be thinking, okay, love what Sasha does, how do I pursue a similar pathway? What sort of pathways are there into the construction industry?
In construction industry, we take in apprentices at varying points. It's not just trade apprentices. We also take in graduate apprentices. We take people directly into other roles. We've had marketing trainees and sales trainees and procurement trainees. All of our opportunities, our entry-level opportunities, are posted on our website, along with absolutely everything else. But we're looking for those transferable skills. So if marketing is what you enjoy, then you can get a marketing job in a varying number of connected industries, and that would be fantastic to move across to construction. Anything to do with property or land, anything to do with working with local authorities. So you're used to using the same language, you're used to that world, and that saves a lot of time.
How important is it as well for young people who are considering sort of pathways and options that they actually choose something that they enjoy as well as a part of it?
Massively, massively. I love my job. I love what I do. I love that no 2 days are alike, and the amount of work that you need to get ahead, as you know, just in your career in general. It's difficult to find the motivation to put that in if you don't love what you do. And there's that old saying, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. And despite being crazily busy and working at odd hours and, needing to juggle 5 million balls, I love coming to work. Absolutely. I love the people I work with. I love what I get to do. And it's a brilliant industry. It's really inspiring to be involved in it.
Oh, great. And, talking about your industry, and obviously you love what you do, what are some of the, quite interesting projects that you have worked on over the years?
I did the successful first stage of the bid for the London velodrome for the Olympics, which was every time I see that on TV, I am that boring person going, I did it. We've won some pretty big contracts in this part of the world as well. We've won a major housing partnership with Kings Lynn Borough Council, and also a big strategic development partnership with the private development company of Norfolk County Council. Those are massive wins for the business, and we're currently named as preferred bidder with Suffolk County Council, which I think will be the biggest project that Lovell has ever won, if we're able to just get those contracts signed and get going, which would be fantastic.
I'm sure with some of those projects, influencing people and persuading people must be huge skills, if not probably the number one skill there. Because naturally, you can have folks who don't want loads of new homes being built or new construction projects going on. How important are those skills? How do you overcome that as well? And then I'll come on to the question there.
We do get that, and I can understand that. I've been on our sites. I go out into our sites quite often. I know what they're like. I know that they can be noisy. I know that they can be dusty. I know that people worry about the strains on local services. I'm raised in a little village in Cambridgeshire, not too far from where I am now. I get it. When you've got a small village, the idea of sticking on 100, 200, 300 houses feels like you're going to change the nature of where you live. But then I also see the other side. I see the people who are families cooped up in bed and breakfasts and stuff like that because there aren't any homes. You see the people, I mean, I'm 40, you see people not a lot younger than me who can't afford to move out of their parents' house because there's no affordable homes for them to move into. And so we try to kind of explore people's fears, try and set their minds at rest, give them people they can talk to, explain a little bit more, because I think sometimes people don't really understand what's involved and they think you're going to be drilling holes at all hours of the night and day, and there's going to be big noisy trucks up and down. And we try to mitigate that as much as we possibly can. And we do talk to people, and I know that sometimes people have come back to us afterwards and said, it really wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. And you need to be bringing people into communities because they're the people who are going to be running the PTAs, running all the community associations further down the line. And I think people do want that. And it's just sometimes about balancing it and giving it time. And we're only there for a few years and then we're gone. So hopefully we can leave a lot of good as well.
We hope so. And, managing expectations is obviously a huge part of it. And we just got another question. So there's a stigma that women don't work in construction. What advice would you give to young women and girls to work in construction?
It's fine. I have got no idea why this stereotype still persists. One of the other things, the sort of the counterbalance to that annoys me is that women need pink high-vis in order to be able to do it, or that they need to be particularly tough and strong and things like that. And you don't need to be any stronger than you do anywhere else. Working in construction is no more difficult, no more challenging than working in any other number of industries. And I've been working in construction for nearly 20 years, and I don't think you face as much sexism as people fear. It's certainly no more than you do in any other area of life.
And how important are positive role models like yourself in terms of engaging with schools and colleges, so that I think it's one of those things you've got to sort of see it to believe it. How
That's
important is
exactly
that?
it. If you can't see it, you can't be it. And I think it's really important that we get a mix of people out to our skills events and stuff like that. And we do try to. We try not to have just the people who look the way you would expect them to do and do the type of jobs you would expect them to do. And we find that that really helps kind of break down those barriers and start having those conversations, which is massively important and something that we're very committed to doing.
I mean, if you had, really successful, inspiring females working construction when you were at school, do you think you would have probably taken that as an option a lot earlier, do you think?
Absolutely. Nobody would have suggested construction to me. I was, a bookish chatterbox then as I am now, and nobody would have suggested it. And if they had said, "Do you want to work in construction?" God, no. But I don't think I understood what an inspiring industry it is, and the legacy that you can leave is amazing. Seeing how you can improve people's lives is really, really rewarding. And it's one of those things where nobody ever suggests it to you, but I wouldn't work anywhere else now. Only construction.
That's brilliant. And let's come on to the question below. So, for a young person who's interested in learning a little bit more about what you folks do, do you offer taster days, etc.?
I think it probably depends where you'd want to come in. I mean, we offer work experience, we offer work placements. Getting people on site to do taster days of the trades is a little bit more awkward because you have young people's safety guidelines and things like that. So you've got to be a little bit more careful about what you can get people to do. But there's always opportunities. And our work placements, we tend to advertise them online. We tend to liaise with schools and colleges and places like that. So those tend to be the best routes to find out what taster days we have. Alternatively, you can just email in. My boss gets letters and he sends them to me. This person wants work experience, and you write a good letter and they're very, very keen to give people experience. We want to be bringing in new people.
Brilliant, thank you. And next question. So, young people are obviously very interested in sustainability and the climate crisis. What is the construction industry doing to help?
Well, we know that construction is one of the biggest culprits in terms of pollutants and things like that. So I think that the construction industry has really got to be at the forefront of changing the way we do everything. And it has been quite a traditional industry in the past. It's been a bit slow to change. But I think the last 5-10 years, that's improved massively. I mean, Morgan Sindall Group has a commitment to be net zero by 2030, which is in advance of a lot of other companies. And they're really, really pushing the things that we do. We've switched to HVO fuel instead of red diesel in our telehandlers and jennies. And we're working with our supply chain so that they can see the benefits and they can make that switch as well. At our current site at Hopton, one of our concrete suppliers, after seeing what we were doing with the HVO, has switched all of their machinery to it. So all of the concrete that we've been using has been produced using HVO fuel. Absolutely fantastic. I think although obviously the pandemic has been horrific on many levels, it really has pushed everybody into using Teams, using video conferencing, and construction would always be of the industry that's, oh no, you need to be meeting face to face, and I'm not really sure about that. They're jumping into it. Everybody's changed how they work. Everybody's become a lot more flexible. And I think that things evolve in ways that you didn't expect. The example I used to my child the other day was in Back to the Future 2, what they got right and what they got wrong. So you had somebody having a FaceTime on the wall with somebody from work, but then he fired him over fax machine. So some of it they were really good on, and some of it just evolves in ways that you haven't even anticipated. It's really exciting to be involved in it. We're trying to change a lot of how we work as well as the materials that we're using. I mean, we've been using things like sustainably produced timber for decades. That kind of stuff doesn't get shouted at. And there is a bit of offsetting that goes on. Our recycling rates are really high. I think it's about 98.9% in this region that we divert from landfill, which when you consider the amount of waste that we produce is no mean feat. There's a lot to do, but there's a lot that we are doing.
That's great to hear, and also the commitment to net zero by 2030 is brilliant.
Absolutely. We need new minds to come in and come in with new ideas. It's brilliant.
I'm going to come on to the next question. So how did the subjects you studied at university link to what you do day to day?
At university, I did a BA in history. So that links through to what I do in terms of setting out an argument and research primarily. Those are the things that I found most useful. When I'm putting a bid together, I need to understand about my client and what their priorities are, so that when I'm answering their questions, I'm also bringing in a lot of outside information. So we can say how we're going to build it, but we can also point out that by building it in this way, we're meeting your climate change objectives here and here and here. And by doing the skills program, we're meeting your objectives here and here, and working with these groups that your region is particularly concerned about here and here. And it just shows that you understand the client, and that that's the type of partner that you are, somebody who works with them rather than just for them.
Wow, that's brilliant. And obviously you folks do a lot of great work with schools, the community, particularly around sort of social responsibility, and you invest both in sort of time, resources, finance in those. And obviously we work with a lot of schools and colleges, and we want businesses to go in and inspire young people. What are some of the things that a school and young people and students can expect when Lovell's come in, or Morgan Sindall come in, for example?
Right, I'm trying to think what we've done. In the last sort of 12 months, we've done a year 7 sort of role discovery activity, which was the whole day, where we had people in and talking to them. We had apprentices in, we had our operations managers in. We did a load of activities with the year 7s, and which was brilliant. I think when we went in, there was only about 20 kids who were interested in construction. When we left, it had doubled, which was fantastic. We've gone in and done skills fairs for them. We've gone in and spoken to them about apprenticeships. We did, in February, we actually managed to do a skills taster day where we had the students building brick corners and building a model of one of our house types out of timber. That was absolutely fantastic. Really enjoyed it, and all our team were interested in doing more. But we're quite happy to kind of work with the schools and see what works for them. I think a lot of them want to break down the barriers of who considers construction, but then a lot of it is in terms of careers and next steps and getting people into work placements and apprenticeships. So we do a lot with that.
Yeah, that's excellent. And next question. So how could somebody contact you for work experience?
My details are on the Lovell website, she says. I think they are. I'm definitely on the Lovell website. I'm pretty sure my email address is on there, but otherwise, I'm trying to look for it now. Don't know whether I can just come off and have a quick look, and I'll tell you whether it's on there. It should be on there. That's
absolutely fine. I mean, whilst you're having a search for that, no, we can include it as a link. That's really useful. Thank you. Obviously, you come across as really inspiring. Did you have sort of, or do you have sort of mentors that have supported you in your career as well?
Yeah, I've been really, really lucky. I've had some fantastic female managers throughout my career who've been instrumental in kind of helping me to navigate where I wanted my career to go within construction. I think it's mainly coincidence that most of my bosses have been women, but I've been really, really lucky with managers across the board, male and female. They've all been really supportive. They've all been really helpful in terms of letting me seek out opportunities to progress. And they've also been really sort of good at supporting me to take new opportunities and extend my career where perhaps I lacked confidence, which you would think is surprising, but everybody's prone to suffering from imposter syndrome on occasion. There we go. Yeah, I've just checked. Yes, I am on the Lovell website. If you look under East Anglia, then my details are there, and there's a little email link on it as well, so people can contact me off there, and it should come through. But yeah, so I've been very lucky. And Morgan Sindall has also put me in contact with. They have like a women's support network across the group, which gave me a chance to receive some coaching from like qualified life coaches and stuff like that, and that's been really, really good. Some of the training we have is just brilliant. It's not just about your practical skills, it's about your mental health, your well-being, achieving work-life balance, like stretching yourself, and all of that stuff is really supportive. It's really important when choosing companies to work for that you choose people who are going to help you rather than just the skills that the business uses directly.
Brilliant, thank you. And now just last question. So I know you obviously volunteer with us as an enterprise advisor, work with schools and colleges. How important is it that more young people volunteer to gain some of those soft skills that you talked about earlier?
Oh, fantastic. I mean, when I think about the type of skills, we have a lot of people come in. We have a lot of graduates and apprentices and work placements. And so I kind of get a good view about what skills work well and where sometimes I think people have lacked certain skills that's impacted how well they've done within that placement. Communication is absolutely imperative. The other one we say, as crazy as it may seem, is timekeeping. Being 5-10 minutes late for work might not seem like a big deal, but it gets noticed. The people who are in and ready to start work at 8:30, it just says something that they're aware that they're not wasting anybody's time, that they're ready, that they're keen, and those are the type of sort of, I suppose, skills and personality traits that they look for in thinking who's going to be one who does well, and that's somebody who has got the right attitude for work.
Excellent. Sasha, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you. I could be here all afternoon. So huge thank you. Huge thank you for joining us on Careers and Coffee today.
Thank you.
So folks, that was Sasha Bainbridge, Regional Partnerships Director for Lovell, talking to us a little bit more around no mess construction, her pathway into the industry, as well as some hints and tips as well around how to actually get into it yourself. So huge thank you to Sasha. We're taking a break for half term for a couple of weeks, so be sure to tune in a couple of weeks' time to see more Careers and Coffee. Thank you.